When I thought about this question of accountability, I responded automatically, well, first, right, to our students, secondly, to our curriculum, whether it's class plans for the day or imagining a program, and thirdly, to other workers at the university. And what I want to do with my time now, and perhaps we can do more in workshop, is to think through the logics of power when we say that teachers should be accountable to their students. And I want to do that by de-romanticizing the classroom. So I want to try out just sketching power dynamics within this micro space of the classroom, what I find worrisome when we ask teachers to be accountable to their students. I think it's also a problem that reflects larger power imbalances in the university, and that when we ask teachers to be accountable to their students, we might indirectly be flexing power dynamics that we actually don't like in the university. So just for a moment, I want to muse on what it means to ask teachers to be accountable to their students. I do want to say I like my students, I like teaching, and it's something that I have found to be a good gig, a sustaining gig that has allowed me to do many things, including support my family for over 25 years. So I do want to say also that in many moments I have found collaboration possible with my students. I've learned from my students. I've moved from many different locations, and each location has made me wake up to the challenges of teaching and has kind of made this teaching a sustainable goal because of the demands that students make upon you. So personally, it has been very satisfying, but it's also troubling. The dependence students sometimes are directed to have to their teachers. So I want to think about 3 fronts on which, when we ask teachers to be accountable to their students, 3 fronts that little bit problematic to me when I think through the power dynamics. So first of all, when we have charismatic teachers in the classroom, we often ask them to shed light on how the university really works, to find the resources that are deliberately hidden from all but the most persistent or, frankly, entitled students who know to ask for the manager, right? So I am worried that when we ask teachers to show us the way through the university, we're not asking the university to be fully transparent to everyone who doesn't have a teacher who knows the way, or you're not the student that would ask, right? And I'm also worried about charismatic teachers in the classroom, because I have often found that those classrooms often enact rituals of deference, certain kinds of fear, not just of the grade, but of being the right kind of student. And these are all power dynamics that accumulate in the university's hands. So I do worry about those kinds of power dynamics that go along with deference to a teacher to show you the way. The second kind of danger I see in asking teachers to be accountable to students is to kind of make sure we're all still in the same classroom. I was thinking a lot about Paulo Freire and his idea of the critical pedagogy and how irrelevant it was to my teaching. Because Freire's, thinking about literacy, I apologize, but whatever, should have been buried a while ago. But Freire's idea of, literacy campaigns for voter education provided him with a context in which he said, teachers should come, give up their power, learn with their students, have a type of collaboration. But what I have found in practice is that teachers only legitimize their students' learning when it mimics their politics, right? So, thanks, Tiffany. So I taught a class on feminist pedagogy, and I had a student who said, yeah, I teach this after-school program, which, by the way, is brimming with communists. It's all true. And he said we went to City Hall about some gentrification project, and I was so proud because the student was saying all the stuff we taught him to say. And I was like, this is the moment where feminists are like super alarmed, because a feminist critique of the production of knowledge makes you worry when your students start talking like you. That's the moment of crisis, not the moment of satisfaction. So feminist critiques of Freire, supposedly collaborative learning, teaches us something a little bit different, which is to worry about mimicry. And so scholars like Kathleen Wheeler, who has written a lot about this, and she's great, I think, really tell us that the classroom that Freire imagined is not the classroom many of us who are hired in the culture wars of the 80s, and like totally aging myself, or hired between the recessions are walking into. As universities become more elite, our students occupy positions of power and privilege that we, the professors, often don't have, right? So I am going to be stepping into the chairship of Women and Gender Studies because Julie's had it. And I really feel like my first job will be to get a t-shirt that says, I am not your mammy, right? Because I feel like those are some of the expectations, right, shouldn't I? Those are some of those expectations like faced by women of color, right? That you have to be caring in a certain way. So Paulo Freire aside, I do also think that when we ask teachers to be accountable to their students, if we could please, update the power dynamics in the classroom. And what does that accountability look like? And finally, I wanted to think about the third front of power dynamics when we ask teachers, especially people of color hired during the culture wars or hired between the recessions, to do care work. And I'm thinking about the folks in our departments who are often doing the most student management and the most care work, and that's our adjunct laborers, right? And the adjunct laborers, I'm afraid, are becoming de-skilled through the demands for care work because they're getting kind of stuck and they're not producing the research, they're not making the administrative connections because now the adjunct laborers are asked to have this voice of the students rather than their own. So I do want to think about how teachers' accountability to students might be problematic at the level of charisma, at the level of diversity, and also at the level of the expense of the survivance of adjunct faculty. Thank you.